Greetings, students, and welcome to this episode of The Professor Travel. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Orange County, California. This is the website, the vlog, and the podcast that you come to in order to learn more about different travel destinations. This is where we go to discuss them as a community. Hopefully, this will inspire you to travel more and ultimately enjoy life more. Now, you can reach me on a variety of different social media platforms, of course, starting with my website, which is at theprofessortravel.com. On YouTube, Facebook, and now on TikTok, you can reach me at The Professor Travel. If you're an Instagrammer, you can find me there at the_professor_travel. If you're on Twitter, please find me there at theprofessortr1. And then if you are a blogger, you can also find me there at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, I am very proud to bring back again my visiting professor for the day, Ishaan Gokhale. How are you doing, Ishaan?
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this. I recently interviewed Ishaan on a wonderful trip to Antarctica that he took, which was just, I learned so much about that. I had to have you back really fast to talk about some of your additional adventures. And this one is going to be really, really, I think, very special for my students. But before we get into any of that, can you tell us a little bit about your credentials, just a little bit about
Yeah.
your educational background and some of the
hmm
places that you traveled?
Yeah. Like I said in the Antarctica uh, vlog, my education is my travel. My travel is my education. Um, um, Basically, I've traveled many different places around the world, all 7 continents. I don't know how many countries, and
We know it's over
it's
50.
yeah. I would say between 50 and 100. And It's passion of mine until this year came around. Uh, until
Please.
last year, I was traveling every chance I got, and yeah, that's about it.
I cannot wait for this year to get over so we can get back on the traveling bandwagon again. So this is a very special episode because you had an opportunity to go on the Trans-Siberian Railway. This is something I have wanted to do for a very, very long time. Tell me, why did you decide to go on a trip like this?
So a little bit background about me personally. I'm from India originally, and when I was growing up, every summer vacation, my parents used to. I mean, we all used to go, different places in India. We used to visit my grandparents in different cities. Um, and that was all done by train. So I fell
Hmm.
in love with train travel over there when I was growing up. And somewhere along the lines, I learned about this thing called Trans-Siberian Railway, which is the longest single stretch of track in the world. And I was like, yes, I want to do that someday. I hope I get to do that someday. And it was like a dream of mine to go on it. So yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to go, similar to, again, going back to the previous one about Antarctica. I've always wanted to go, and I've always wanted to experience what it's like to be on a train for like 7, 8 days at a stretch, and
Wow.
you know, just for that experience.
I
And
I I am so proud of you for making your dreams come true. It is like you have been to more countries than almost anybody I know. You have been through so many
oh,
different
I
really
know. Sorry,
adventures.
sorry. I know a lot of people who have been to a lot more countries than I have.
You know what? Speaking,
Traveled a whole lot more.
I have been to 23 countries, and I think
hmm
that's a pretty decent amount, at least by
hmm
American standards. You've been over between 50 and 100. I only know two other people that have been even comparable to that, and they're both professors I work with, and one has been, I think, to over 70 countries, and the other one has been to a little over 100.
Wow.
So I mean, but that's a lot of conferences that he goes to and things
hmm
like that,
hmm
so it makes sense. But man, it is just so fun. I mean, you get a chance to go out, you get a chance to see the culture, experience the people, obviously experience the food, which I love, but just really, you know go in a variety of different traveling modalities, whether it's a cruise or a flight. This particular one, however, on a train is so unique and so interesting. I was telling you right before the show, there's only two train trips that I've dreamed about when I was growing up, and one was the Trans-Siberian Railway, and the other one was the Orient Express. the Orient Express we'll probably talk a little bit more about later on down the line, just because I am looking to do that down the line, and I'm really kind of curious about how that process would look.
So am I.
But yeah, I actually am. I know a YouTuber who's done it, so I'm going to see if I can get an interview with them as well. So stay
Mhm.
tuned for that. But how long in advance did you have to start planning for this kind of a trip?
Uh, Almost a year. Um, and the reason, I mean, I don't know how to say this. It was uh, just the processes of getting everything organized and, the details of the whole trip. Now, this trip actually was part of a larger trip that I had taken with many other countries along the way, and before and after Russia, everything. So it was just like organizing that and figuring out, oh, you need to fly from here to there to there to there and stay here for so many days and arrive in Russia on that day and leave on Russia that day, get the visas and all that. So it was a kind of a headache to kind of plan everything. Um, so it took a long time, and then everything beyond that also. So I'm just combining that to say like more than a year.
Did your
Um,
travel company, like travel a trip advisor or a travel agent, help with organizing any of that for you?
No, so I like doing it all myself. That's one
Okay.
of my joys. Like it gets me excited to go.
This didn't sound very
Uh,
joyful this time
no, 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 no,
around.
no. It's yeah, it is a pain, but it's also like it gets me excited. I when I start planning it and I start looking up places to go and um, you know, uh, like I figure out, oh, I can go here, 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 and kind of talk to people. They've been some of those places. You get ideas from them, etc., etc. So it's just you know
So how,
now if I had to do that again, I honestly I would be depressed because I cannot go.
well, how was the visa process? I mean, like, how many different countries did you end up going through on this
uh,
Trans-Siberian Railway?
well, this was just Russia.
Okay,
So
so it's
there
fully
are two.
Russia.
Yeah, there are actually more than two. There are few branches of the Trans-Siberian Railway. One goes down to Beijing,
Yeah.
China, across Mongolia. Another goes like a little bit off China, not Beijing. There's a town that starts with H. I'm blanking out on the name.
That's okay.
Um, um, and then there's the main line, which is the original line historically, which is Moscow to Vladivostok.
Okay.
So
Very cool. And so you only needed the one visa for all
for
of
Russia,
Russia.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's perfect.
Mhm.
Did you have to ahead of time bring any special type of travel medications or anything like that? Just preparing for something like this? I mean, it sounds like, if, of course, talking with you previously,
Mhm.
we know that this was not the first stop on this trip.
Yeah.
You were gone for an entire month. So I was
Mhm.
saying, did you have to like have like a care package of like
Yeah.
aspirins and band-aids and all kinds of
Well,
safety stuff?
that was basically it. I had a basic first aid kit that you can get anywhere these days, any drugstore kind of place. But really, that was it. I didn't have any special medication or anything like that. You know, just a small, about that big first aid kit.
See, I would carry, that's just my aspirin. Okay, so let's talk about preparing for this kind of a trip. Is it all cold weather the whole way
So I,
across? Or
no, not when I went.
okay,
Of course, it depends what time of the year you go. So this trip, I went basically the last week of May in 2011, um, and uh, I needed a light jacket, not a thick heavy one. But beyond that, nothing else. I mean, you can see in the photo that I was wearing. That's basically the
yeah, it was
jacket I
like a
was wearing.
black
Yeah,
jacket.
it's a very light. Just even if I wasn't wearing that, it would be okay. Um, and it actually gets pretty humid in some places along the train journey. So
Hmm.
um, it's it was fine. I mean, by May it is fine. Now that is not to say like if you go in December it's going to be the same. No.
No,
So,
not through Siberia. I don't think so. So for this trip, you actually started your flight in Manila. Is that
yeah, I
right?
was in the Philippines. So like I said earlier, this is part of a longer journey,
Okay.
and I eventually I got to the Philippines, and then from Philippines I flew to Vladivostok,
Okay.
Russia. So I had a friend in Philippines. She came with me,
Okay.
um, and then we did that. I mean, whole train journey was together.
Excellent. And that was on, was it Korean Air that you took in
Yeah,
order to get there?
yeah.
How was the
So
trip?
the flight was good. It was my first time flying Korean, and we flew from Manila to Seoul, Seoul to Vladivostok. Uh, and one interesting thing that I noticed on the on the map that they show you on board the flight. Uh, so from Seoul to Vladivostok, if you draw a straight line, it actually passes over North Korea.
Mm.
And assuming they're not allowed to fly over North Korea, or they've been
No.
shut down. So we actually flew like a big circle around North Korea, and we go up and then all the way back down to Vladivostok again. It's just like whole big circle across China, Russia, and then back down
Gotta
again.
be careful.
Uh,
These are the things, these are the adventures in which you challenge
well,
yourself
I
when you
mean, this
travel.
is this is the plane. I'm just on the ride. So.
You're like, I'll just take it wherever they're going to go. Oh, okay. So you arrive in Vladivostok
Mhm.
to start off your journey. When
Yeah.
you arrived, did you actually stay in Vladivostok before you
Yes.
started your train ride?
So
Okay.
yes, and Vladivostok Airport is a good hour's drive from the city,
Okay.
more than an hour. Um, so I did not know that before I landed there, which I guess I should have researched and should have known. But it was a shock to me when I landed there that the city is like more than an hour away and there's literally nothing in between. So
Mm,
you basically have to take a taxi cab. There's no metro or anything like that, no bus that goes there that I knew about. Um, I had to take a taxi cab. I was probably, and it's not like an official taxi, so I was probably overcharged for that price for that ride. I don't know.
probably.
Most likely, yes. Um, um, so and I did not know. Like so, basically, the way it worked was you go to a driver and you ask, you want to go to the city. You tell them the name of your hotel, and they'll quote your price, right?
Okay.
And I was like in rubles, in Russian rubles. So I was doing the calculation in my head. At that time, I think it was 30 to 1, 30 rubles to $1.
Okay.
And I was like,
It's almost like the
good,
Thai bot.
yeah, something like that. uh, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money that you're asking me, just to go to the hotel. Like, and I did not know that. Yeah, the hotel is an hour away, so
That makes more
okay.
sense. So you get to the hotel. What
Right.
is the hotel that you're staying at? Is it just a local
uh,
hotel or is
yeah,
it
it was
a
a local hotel I had booked, right.
okay?
They had a nice bar on top. I wish I had written down the name of the hotel. Like it had a top floor, uh, kind of restaurant bar
Nice.
and lounge kind of place, and you can see the view of the city from there. It's like top floor is like, I don't know, 10th, 11th floor or something like that. Um, so it's nice. It's good hotel, but I wish I had written down which hotel it was because I don't know that.
Do you speak Russian?
No, I don't.
Okay. So were they able to communicate with you?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
All the tourist areas I found, actually all over the world, this is probably true, that you can get by. It's not a big deal. You should know a few words, of course. Spasiba, thank you. Uh, what dasvidanya. Um,
Yeah.
a few words which I've forgotten now. But
What's
otherwise,
I'm trying to remember what is hello or like hi.
um, um,
Privyet.
Privyet. Yeah.
Privyet. Yes.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Good job.
word of the
I've
day for you
forgotten that.
students. That's what I learned in St. Petersburg. So spasiba and privyet. They're
Uh-huh.
really good to have.
Yep.
So okay, so you're going to now take off from Vladivostok. Did you want to take over the reins of control of the slideshow here to show us a little bit about what the itinerary map looks like?
Sure. Okay. Um, can you make me the owner like this, the co-host?
Sure. I will do that right now. Making you a co-host. Do you have control?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
All right. And so this is a website that I used a lot in my research. It's called seat61.com.
Mhm.
And they have train journeys all over the world. You can see on this left side, pretty much any country you want to go to, they'll explain how to get there, what to do, how to prepare everything. It's a beautiful website.
That's a lot of research.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's
so
good.
the page that I have open right now is for the Trans-Siberian. You can tell by that URL.
Okay.
And basically, this blue line uh, is the line that I took from Vladivostok up to Khabarovsk, Ulan Ude, Irkutsk, all the way across to Moscow.
Okay.
Uh, and I had actually made a stop. I had decided to stop in Irkutsk on the way.
Hmm.
The whole train journey is something like 7.5 to 8 days
Okay.
if you go nonstop. Uh, uh, Now, thanks to this website, and also there was a Lonely Planet guidebook I had, uh, I knew that there are no showers on board the train.
Okay.
So 7 days, no shower, packed train,
Wow,
a lot of
that's
people.
very robust smell, I'm sure. So
uh, so
uh,
I said, okay, let me split this up. And
I'll stop in
also,
Irkutsk and just get a hotel or something to wash
now
myself down.
also I wanted to go to Lake Baikal, which is right next to Irkutsk. It's the biggest freshwater lake in the world.
Okay.
Uh, so I wanted to see what that is like, just as a tourist, as a visitor.
Hmm.
So the I booked now. Unlike European trains,
Hmm.
Russia does not have like a rail pass kind of system. So every train ticket you buy, you have to buy individual train tickets.
Okay.
And then you have to buy the reservation with that. You'll be assigned a seat number, all of that stuff, right? Um, so I basically had to buy two train tickets, one from Vladivostok to Irkutsk, and then again from Irkutsk to Moscow, second train ticket.
Okay.
Uh, and along with that, it's goes without saying, if you miss the train, you have to now buy another train ticket for the next day. There's no,
Ugh, that's gotta suck.
yeah. So you better, be there on time. You better be on board and ready to go.
Yeah, don't run behind at
Yeah.
all. What
Uh,
can I ask you a quick question about both Vladivostok and Irkutsk?
mhm.
For Vladivostok, what kind of tourist stuff was there to do while you were there?
Right.
Anything
Yeah.
really super?
So yeah, Vladivostok. It used to be during the Soviet era. It used to be a naval base
Hmm.
for the USSR, and so they still have like the port over there, which is now a tourist area,
Hmm.
and they have a submarine museum you can go to. They have a lot of statues all over the city. Uh, of the USSR heroes like Lenin and Stalin and others, Karl Marx.
But you also posed next to like a large head of Poseidon
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
So
that was strange. And it's interesting because you asked me about that. I showed you that photo earlier, and you asked me who is that, and I couldn't tell. And I actually thought it was an old Russian czar or someone, and then I researched it online, and it turns out it's the uh, statue of Poseidon.
nice.
So I don't know how they got that in Vladivostok. I don't know the history behind that, but
Well,
uh,
clearly they're big up on their Greek and their Roman. So there you go.
yeah. So uh, yeah, it was interesting. And this is, excuse me,
No problem.
this was in also in the port area of Vladivostok, in the harbor area.
Hmm.
So that whole region is like, if you've been to San Francisco, it's like Embarcadero area of San Francisco, where it's like touristy stuff. People, you know, uh, taking photos, and a lot of tourists, English speaking
Hmm.
people. And so it was fine. That was really the only kind of tourist place I went to.
Vladivostok is probably, I think it's the third largest city in all of Russia. It's massive
Yeah, it is a big city.
comparatively
Yeah, it
compared
is a
to
big city.
St. Petersburg and Moscow.
Yeah.
Um, when you got off at Irkutsk, what I mean, was there anything to do there, or was it just pretty much
Yes.
getting out for the hotel?
Yes. Irkutsk has a river that goes through it, and
Hmm.
that river area is also very nice. They had like fountains. They had a festival that particular night that we happened to be there. Just coincidence. So they had like food carts, food vendors, the food trucks all over there, which was very nice. Um, and is beautiful city actually, and the train station itself is very beautiful in Irkutsk. The building and the architecture of that and everything.
I love spontaneous events like that.
Hmm.
I remember when I was in St. Petersburg and I went to the Church of the Resurrection, which is also known
Hmm.
as the Church of the Spilled Blood. It's
Hmm.
a really fantastic, beautiful place if you ever
Yeah,
had a chance to see it.
yeah.
We came out of the church and there's a canal nearby the church. And there were like 100 kayakers that were going through at the same time, and everybody was like cheering them with flags and stuff like that on the side. And
Oh,
we
good.
asked our tour guide what was going on, and she's like, "Oh, random, racing, I guess, at the middle of the day." So I was like, it wasn't like anything specific, but it
Hmm.
was like one
Hmm.
team versus another team was going down the canal. So it was like,
Yep.
oh, that's kind of cool. So you never know. Go to these places, you'll find some really interesting stuff out, and just indulge in
Hmm.
the culture because it can be really
Yeah.
fun.
If you just walk around in the town, you might notice something. It's true anywhere in the world you go. I mean, um, yeah.
You had
So
I think on this page there was also a picture of like the sleeper cabin as well.
yes, yes. So this website again, it's a fantastic website for research. Uh, any question you could possibly have, they will answer it. So they have photos of how it looks like. This one, second class four berth, um, and there's a first class two berths and a third class, which is like open seating, open berths, six in one row, and then it's there's no wall in between. So I can go through the details of those if you like.
Just for
Uh,
purposes of accommodations, do the seating areas basically turn into beds? Is that how
yeah,
it works, or
yeah.
is it like
So the bottom kind of comes outward, and it becomes like a flatbed.
okay?
Um, this space looks too less to me. I think it was a little bit bigger than this comparatively, but that's just I may be wrong. I don't know. Um, now there are different types of trains that operate on this route, and uh, this one, the Rosia, that's the name of the train,
Mhm.
Russia. Um, this goes the entire way, Moscow to Vladivostok. So this is one of the more like luxurious trains that is there. There are lots of other smaller trains that only go certain sections. There will be trains that go just from Vladivostok to Irkutsk or wherever. Just certain point, not the whole way through.
Okay.
So you book your ticket on that particular train that you're going on, and this website also has a timetable. I was just looking at here. So it shows all the timetable updated, and
Mm.
wherever you want to go, right? So day 8 Vladivostok or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So wonderful resource. Uh, we can share a link to it at the end of this presentation.
absolutely. Yes, thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I mean, uh, amazing train.
How is the customer service on the train?
Not so good.
Oh, sorry.
And I've heard different things. So uh, I follow a blogger online. Uh, I don't know if you want me to drop the
Sure,
name.
why not?
Uh, so she goes by the handle the professional hobo,
Okay.
um, and she's like a long-term traveler and also loves train travels.
Mm.
And she's been on this train, and she actually mentioned that the service is pretty good comparatively. You don't expect much, but it's fine. It's not a problem. Um, for me, there were times when I was like kind of put off a little bit, but that's just the way they are. So it's my, you know, uh, like Western views, and you have to adjust to that. Um,
I've it's my impression that if you have a guide or someone who's like really good, like watching over you,
mhm.
their customer service skills are spectacular.
Yeah,
But your normal interaction, like ticket takers and people like that, they just
right,
uh,
right. They're in for the business. Yep,
exactly just
yep.
move along
Hmm.
type thing. So, but I mean, it sounds like it was a pretty interesting train ride. 7 days, you said, or
The total is like 7.5 days, little over 7,
okay, cool.
um, if you go nonstop. Um, so like these photos show, like they have phone charge, like electrical plugs. You can charge your phones. uh, they have
What type of plug are they using?
it's the same as Europe, the
It's a
220.
European. Okay.
Yeah, the two round pins.
Okay.
um, and restaurant car on board. The food was so-so. I mean, I really can't expect much, so it was fine. um, And
Here
of
I'm
course,
expecting vodka and caviar. I mean, maybe I'm under the
uh,
misimpression of something nice like that.
vodka, yes, caviar, no.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, and of course, on all the train station platforms, especially the bigger cities, there'll be shops and restaurants that you can stop and get supplies for the journey.
Nice.
Um, uh,
Excellent. And Wi-Fi? Do they have Wi-Fi on board?
no, no Wi-Fi.
Okay.
At least not in 2011. I don't know now. It's been a while.
Yeah, I would imagine, especially now, if you got like a first class ticket, I can't imagine them not having that. That would be really surprising to me.
Well, it is Russia.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, good point.
It's
Would you
not
want to
like
open
Switzerland or
Wi-Fi
something.
unprotected in Russia? I don't know. So all right, very cool. Do you mind if I get the screen back from you?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All righty. All right. So, did you have any like pre-planned excursions on these different locations that you were going to, like when you made stops in cities?
Yeah. Uh, yes and no. Not planned. It just happened on the fly. So I think I mentioned earlier I had made a stop in Irkutsk on the way,
Mhm.
and I wanted to go see Lake Baikal. Now Irkutsk is not literally on the shore of Lake Baikal. It's like an hour's drive away.
It's always an
Um,
hour drive away
it's
from
always an
wherever you're
hour
going.
drive. Airport to city, city to the lake, whatever. 1 hour drive.
Yes.
Uh, so, but I had read somewhere online or in my guidebook for I had a Lonely Planet guidebook for Trans-Siberian Railway. I had read somewhere that yeah, you will always find there are lots of travel agencies over there that will take you to Lake Baikal for a day trip or whatever, right? So it also said that it's better to book locally instead of outside. Otherwise, if I book from here, yes, it's kind of peace of mind. It's guaranteed that it's there, but they'll also charge more money and all that. And I'm very cheap, especially on long trips. So
Which is why you're able to go on so many of them. So good for you.
um, yeah, so uh, got to Irkutsk, and I think I had 3 days over there.
Okay.
And one of those days, I definitely wanted to go to Lake Baikal. Another day, I definitely wanted to roam around in Irkutsk. And a third day was just to kind of relax and whatever, whatever happens.
Did you pick up any
Um,
souvenirs along the way?
no, no,
Okay.
uh, because this was a huge, long journey beyond just the Trans-Siberian,
Mm.
and basically souvenirs means you have to carry it everywhere. No, that's sorry, not for me. Um,
You're like, that's what the
uh,
photos are for. These are memories. I just keep them to myself. So
right. Um, so yeah, so got to Irkutsk, went to the hotel. At the hotel, they had a concierge at the hotel, which was very nice.
okay.
I mean, I did expect that. So I asked the concierge, what can I do about this? I want to go to Irkutsk. I'm sorry, I want to go to Lake
The lake.
Baikal.
Yeah.
So they gave me directions to a travel agency in the town,
Hmm.
right? And he gave me a small like a guide map, like the hotel kind of guide map, not the official city map. He just said like, you go this way, this way, this way, and you get there, go to the third floor, you'll have the travel agency there, right? And I'm like, okay, 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 and everything is in Russian, of course, right? The map is in Russian, the signs on the street are in Russian, everything, right? So at least I could match those together, so that was fine.
Like
uh,
playing a game of like
right,
concentration.
right. Like, does this symbol look like this symbol? Yeah, this is the street I'm supposed to be on. Okay, good. uh, so I could get to that travel agency. When I got there, uh, the directions that the hotel guy had given were actually not 100% complete.
Mm.
So he had written something like second or third floor on that thing, and he had written the name of the travel agency also. And on the bottom of the building, they had this sign of all the businesses right in that building. And so I was like second or third floor, like, no, that doesn't look like this. So where is this? uh, so yeah, I mean, I had a little bit trouble finding the actual place, like where it is inside that building.
Okay.
And I was even doubting, like, is it this building or am I supposed to be somewhere else? Or but that's all part of the fun, right? Like it's part of the adventure.
That's immersion.
Yeah. uh, so finally did find the place. I went there, and the funniest thing happened. So I walked in. First thing I asked them, "Do you speak English?" She said, "Yes, very well." Um, and I said, like, two of us, me and my friend, we wanted to go to Lake Baikal for a day. How much do you charge? I was kind of asking, like, what kind of trips they have available. What do they do? I was expecting like pre-packaged, day trip. This is what it covers. Like on sites like whiter.com or something like that.
Hmm.
Like we go here, 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 and you leave at this time and you come back at this time and everything, right? So that's what I was expecting. And I was expecting actually to go the next day because it was already kind of late morning, late afternoonish kind of time. uh, so that lady said, that guy over there, he lives in the town on Lake Baikal called Listvianka.
Listvianka.
Listvianka, that's his hometown.
Oh,
And
cool.
she said, like, why don't you go talk to him? Uh, and he might take you there right now if you want. And like, wait, right now? I'm like, I expect like tomorrow morning you'll go all day and come back at night and stuff like that, right? Um, so we went to talk to that other guy who was, behind another desk, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, I can take you. I can take you right now if you want to go. I have my car. Uh, it'll be whatever you want to do. I'll show you the lake. There's another stop on the way. We'll stop over there. We go, come back, and it'll be fine. Let's go." I'm like,
Okay then.
well, okay. How much do you charge? That's the main question, right? How much money are
Yeah,
you going to take?
exactly.
So he gave me some price. I said, you know what? I'm not even going to haggle or anything. Like, okay, fine. Is I gave him the money, and uh, we were off. Same right then. Like I was like,
That's so funny.
just did not expect that at all. Like immediately, we went downstairs, went to his car, and he started driving. Um,
Wow.
so we went down to this lake. On the way, there was this old village that is basically from pre Russian Revolution time.
Hmm.
It was during the Tsar Nicholas II time period.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole village is built completely out of wood. There aren't even any nails holding the buildings, holding the wooden logs together in the buildings. It's 100% wooden, and it's just a weird thing to see. Like every building is like all wood. There's nothing else, no metal construction, anything, no cement, nothing holding it all together. uh, but they made it like that. So they had, it used to be a Russian army like outpost or something like that. Uh, so we walked around over there. It's interesting looking village on the way, um, and spent some time over there. Then got back in the car, went down to the lake,
Hmm.
and just hung around on the lake. So uh, now. Uh, Remind me later to talk about the train journey next to the lake. But we went to the lake and it was cold water. Now, this is roughly the end of May.
Okay.
Uh, the water is like ice cold. Um, and there was no one, of course, swimming in it or anything like that. It's just, there's a beach. You go on the beach and you see it, look at it, and you basically, that's it, right? Um, but there are restaurants, uh, like tourist catered, you know, outdoorsy kind of restaurants. You sit on the patio, you have a nice view of the lake and everything, eat food.
Do you
So
remember? Do you remember what kind of food you had there?
yes. uh, Now, a little bit about me. I don't like fish, um,
Okay.
and at that time, now I've started to eat sushi, but I still don't eat like even cooked fish, salmon and stuff. So at that time, I did not have any kind of fish, nothing. And that's all they had in those restaurants because it's
Well, you are
they're
on the side
fish
of a
from the lake.
lake, so
Yeah.
yeah, kind of.
So I told the guy that, he fortunately he was English speaking, right? So I was able to talk to him. So I told him, I don't eat fish, so what do you recommend that is not fish, right? um, and he's like, no, you have to try this one fish, just try it once, this is kind of the experience, right? Like, uh, so there's this fish called amul or omul.
Okay.
Apparently it only lives in that lake, in Lake Baikal. It doesn't live anywhere else in the world. uh, and it's a delicacy of that region. So he was like, you have to try this, have a fried amul or something. And I'm like, okay, I'll have one bite out of what you're having because I hate fish. And yeah, I absolutely did not like it at all, but whatever. People,
I was waiting for
people
you to
who
say, give us the whole, oh my gosh, it was fantastic. You're like, no, it still sucked. Thank you,
still sucked, still sucked. But again, like all part of the experience. And after that, like there's really nothing else. I think I had like some uh, like boiled chicken or something like that over there. Just something weird. Um, and that was kind of supper, and we just hung out over there, chatted about each other's lives and stuff. He lives in that city in Lisbyanka,
cool.
and he's a tour guide in Irkutsk, and he keeps doing this all the time. So like,
Sounds like
wow,
a
okay.
sounds like fun. Talk to me about the train around the area.
Yeah. So the train coming into Irkutsk. So can I share my screen again, please?
Sure, go right ahead. I think do you still have the ability?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Mhm. So uh, okay, you know what? Let me open Google Maps.
Okay.
So this is the lake. It's kind of shaped like a banana.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's a
and
very, very large lake.
yeah, um, so Irkutsk is here, and we were in this town called Lisbyanka, which is kind of here, right?
Okay.
Uh, Now on the train doesn't go here. The train comes across to Ulan Ude, basically following this road next to the lake all the way. Sludyanka is a stop, and Irkutsk is the next stop.
Okay.
So the train comes along like this. Now, when we were approaching the lake from this side, now remember I started the journey in Vladivostok, right, on the Pacific Ocean over here.
Yeah.
Vladivostok is there, right? Uh, so coming from this side, going westward, uh, when we got to this point over here, where the train track comes to the lake, everybody in the train is taking photographs. Like there's like the hallway in the train carriage. I have a photograph looking straight down the hallway. There are like 20 people just taking photos of the lake.
Hmm.
uh, Now, interestingly, this side of the lake, like the eastern side, had ice on the top layer, right?
Okay.
The part of it was frozen over, and as we made our way around the lake, this side was totally liquid, 100%.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah. Uh, so we came to Irkutsk, and then we went to Lysypyanka, and I didn't know what to expect over there, whether there would be ice or whatever. It was all liquid, 100% liquid.
This explains, by the
Um,
way, why it was so cold. It's because half the
yeah,
lake is
yeah,
frozen
half the
over.
lake is frozen, right? But I've never actually seen anything like that. I mean, I've seen Lake Michigan in the winter, for example.
Hmm.
Uh, it's either all or nothing in my experience. It's not like half and half,
Yeah, I've never
Um,
seen, unless it's a
um,
glacier of some sort,
yeah,
But in this
yeah.
particular case, it
But
wouldn't have
this is
been.
like just the water freezing on the top layer, right? Um, but anyway, so this was like ice cold, and we were pretty much at the end of the road, and you see a couple of restaurants over there. Uh, this is in the town of Lysypyanka, right along the beach. So just hung out over there. Oh, interesting. I see this Baikal Museum now. We did not go there. Uh, uh,
So important tip for people who are going to travel. Remember the museums; they are there
yeah.
for a reason.
Um, so
But it's just
yeah, I mean,
southeast of Irkutsk. It
yeah,
sounds
this
like.
is like an hour's drive, like I
Okay.
said, roughly an hour. Um, and Yeah, it was so much fun. And we came back to Irkutsk. Now we had 2 full days in Irkutsk afterwards.
Hmm.
So one day just hung out at this river. This is the Angara River.
Okay.
Uh, and I don't know exactly where we were, but it was kind of like a park area. So it might be around here or something. But, um,
More in
you
the
know,
center of the city.
yeah, kind of. So or possibly here in this park area. So it's like a riverfront touristy kind of place. You just hang out over there, and there are like food truck vendors and stuff like that.
It seems like a fairly sizable town.
It is a kind of a big city. Um, I mean, for the area, it's in Siberia, so relatively speaking, it's a big
Yeah.
city. Um, yeah, so it is. It's a nice city. The train station, like I said, the train station building was probably the most beautiful in the whole town that I saw.
Okay.
Uh, just the architecture that is fantastic. It's like that old style architecture.
Hmm.
Um, and just relaxed in Irkutsk until it was time to get back on the train and continue the journey.
Quick question about the train depot. Was it because there's very different architectural styles. There's the pre-communist
Hmm.
architectural style. There's the post-communist architectural style, which is much more um,
Hmm.
s- solid.
Like solid cement blocks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Hmm.
structural
Hmm.
looking. It's
Hmm.
it's built for efficiency, less
Right.
for
Right.
aesthetics. And then when
Right.
you get into the stuff that's pre-communist, you have the stuff
Hmm.
that's more like almost French in a way because it's you know you had Peter the Great. He had gone over to France at one point. He brought a lot of his teachings back over to Russia, and so that type of architecture had been shared with the Russian people, and it's kind of an amalgamation of this French slash Russian hybrid architectural style. When you got to these train depots, were they mostly the communist
Oh,
type architecture? It was pre.
pre-communist.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
The train the this rail line was completed in like turn of the century, 1900s,
Okay.
1906 or something like that. So that was under Tsar Nicholas II,
Okay.
and he basically wanted a way to get to this uh, far east Pacific Ocean port from Moscow in a quick way. So it was built for that. It was just to connect that military base in Vladivostok across the country, um, and of course give access to Siberia and all the different provinces along the way. Um, so uh, everything at that time, it was built in that time, so it really, like many of the stations, not just Irkutsk, they have this old style, like the Victorian kind of buildings, and you know it's very nice. It's a big contrast to many of the like the big buildings in Moscow today.
Oh yeah.
So
Speaking of
uh,
which, that's your next major stop, correct?
that was the final destination, yes.
Okay. So what were your impressions about Moscow? Because I've never been there.
uh, I loved Moscow. I actually liked it more than St. Petersburg. uh,
Really?
yeah, even though people say St. Petersburg is like a European city, not a Russian city, and uh, Moscow was amazing for me. And part of it is just like growing up in place like India and the US.
Mhm.
Like teenage years, I was in the US, uh, and there's this kind of at that time in the late 1980s. Oops, giving away my age there. Uh,
Please, we're both the same age.
um, uh, there was this like anti-communist, Ronald Reagan era kind of, you know, this evil empire, what he called it,
Yeah.
so this was always kind of a strange place, right? Like Russia, when am I ever going to get to Russia? Come on, it was like that kind of feeling. Uh, so going to Moscow and seeing the Kremlin and the big red walls, Red Square, and everything, it's just wow! It just blew me away, and
Did you have an
it's just
opportunity to tour any of those
yeah,
places?
yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. You could go inside the Kremlin, go around see the Treasury building. They have all kinds of jewels from everywhere from the wars that they've had. Um, they have just the building itself, like the walls and the turrets on the sides of the walls, and Red Square right next to it. It's all just this huge grand place. Uh,
Did you have an opportunity to take a look at St. Basil's Cathedral while you were there?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Uh, so actually, that, in my opinion, looks better from the outside than the inside.
Really?
Uh, exact opposite in St. Petersburg. There's this place,
Yeah.
St. Petersburg. That cathedral is amazing. So
Are you talking about Church of the
uh,
Resurrection?
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
it's
that is
fantastic.
incredible inside. Um, but the Moscow one, I just my opinion, it's inside was kind of felt put down after seeing the outside.
Most people that I
Um,
speak to when they compare St. Petersburg and Moscow, they look at the two and say, okay, well, St. Petersburg is like the cultural hub
yeah.
of
Hmm.
Russia, and Moscow is the political hub of there.
Hmm.
But they both share like larger buildings, and they have a robust nightlife, and there's a lot of things to do in both places for tourists. So I guess it's just a matter of, you know, what you're more influenced by and what you really enjoy
Right. And
during your times.
right. And also, I want to add like your preconceived ideas about this strange land called Russia, and you know, uh, like everything when you were growing up, you were taught that you know,
Russia bad or
yeah,
whatever.
Russia's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. No, and
uh,
like from my perspective, and this gives you a little bit about my background too, for my students who don't know, um, my father's side of the family is Russian. You
hmm.
know,
Hmm.
well, I guess now it's kind of like Russian
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Because my great grandfather came from Kiev, so in terms of that, you know, there's a soft spot in my heart for, and there always has been for Russia. And so I'd always wanted to go out there. And when I had the opportunity to go to St. Petersburg, that was a really spectacular opportunity. And it did not disappoint. I was really blown away by everything that I did when I was in
Hmm.
St. Petersburg. That's, I think, about 3 hours from Moscow. But I mean, I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm going to go back and sharing here
Yeah,
really
yeah. I
quick.
stopped my sharing. Sorry.
No problem. In terms of the return trip, once you arrive in Moscow and you've disembarked the train, um, where are you headed after that? Are you going back to the US at that point, or?
No, I continued to St. Petersburg, and then beyond that, Helsinki, Tallinn, and rest of Europe and stuff. So it was a long trip. Uh,
Well, but it sounded like a very, very worthwhile trip, actually, and I'm really happy that you
mhm.
had an opportunity to do that. Which leads us into the takeaways for this kind of a trip. What are the,
Right.
in your opinion, what are the pros of going on a trip like this?
Um, so you get to see the country.
Hmm.
Most people who travel to Russia will go to Moscow, St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Those are the highlights. Uh, Going across the country, it's different. I mean, you see the landscapes. It's all about the views. The forests in Siberia, the mountains. You're crossing the Ural Mountains. Those are very beautiful. The lakes, the rivers. It's just the scenery out the window. It's beautiful. Also, the whole experience of physically being on the train. Uh, it's I I can't even put into words like uh, because you are basically most of the people who are on that particular train are going all the way Vladivostok to Moscow, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting off the train in the middle.
Yeah.
Um, so you get to know the people around you. You know, you make friends with them.
Yeah. You're with it for about a week, so
Yeah. Well, in my case, it was 3 days plus 4 days on that trip.
that's true.
Um, but it's so like it's just you can't even imagine how it is like. It's uh,
It's just a
the
huge cultural exchange
right,
experience. It
right.
sounds like it was really fun.
Hmm.
Now, on the
Well, also fun and not fun. That's the things to be aware of on your next
so
trip.
yeah, let's talk about
Um,
that. What are some things that a person going into this kind of a trip, because this is quite the epic excursion,
mhm.
what are some things they need to be aware of?
Yeah, the number one thing is there are no showers on board the train.
Okay, so don't
So
expect that.
don't expect that. There is of course a like a regular restroom toilet kind of thing with
Okay,
a sink. So whatever you can do on the sink, wash your face, head, and stuff like that. That's fine.
but is this like
Um,
a communal?
no, you can lock it. It's a single, lockable, but it is shared one of those or sometimes two of those in one train carriage.
Okay,
So, but yeah, once you're in there, it's a restroom. You can lock it and do your business there.
okay.
So uh, that's one.
Did you
It
have to
could be
bring
a
your own?
problem.
Did you have to bring your own toilet paper, or was it already?
Yes, I did bring my own toilet paper. Yes,
Okay, yeah,
and that you can shop. You can go in Vladivostok to a any grocery store and get all those kind of supplies. You should also get food items, snacks, drinks. Uh, you know, yes, you can buy them on the train stations along the way, but it's just something extra you can keep in your bag, like things like sandwiches. You can make bread and whatever sandwiches,
Yeah.
right? That'll stay. Um, um,
So go and buy snacks
yeah,
prior to getting on the train.
right, right.
Okay.
But if you don't, it's also fine because, like I said, even on the train stations along the way, wherever the stops are like pretty long stops, you can get down, you can roam around in the train stations, you can go shopping and stuff like that.
Excellent.
Uh, now, uh, one of the things is the people that I mentioned,
Yeah.
um, they are getting drunk and like really, really drunk. Uh,
Welcome to Russia.
uh,
It's not. I don't want to say
so
that. That's not a stereotype. They shouldn't.
no, I
But
mean,
I mean, there
there's.
is a stereotype out there
Mhm,
for a reason.
mhm.
Because sometimes that is something. It's just like when you talk about fraternities. There's a stereotype that
Right.
they're party places, and that's kind of there for a reason. So
Hmm, hmm. So especially like uh, if you're a single lady traveling alone, it is something to be aware of.
yeah.
Uh, there are a lot of drunk guys on board the train. Um, there, there basically there's no concept of day and night. If you're traveling 7 days across the country, people are awake in the daytime, nighttime. They whatever, they're laughing, talking to each other. They're like, if you want to sleep, there's no set time to
So bring earplugs
for
then.
anything. Bring whatever you need: earplugs,
Okay.
noise canceling headphones, or whatever. uh, Now, depending on the type of cabin that you book, now there's a first class, second class, and third class cabin. uh, First and second, you can lock your compartment.
Okay.
There's a compartment that you can lock, but the first is two berths sharing one compartment, and second is four berths sharing one compartment. So
Okay.
it's uh, if you're a family of four, perfect. But if you're alone or something, you have three other people with you in that same compartment. You have to be aware, what are these people going to do. You know, um, uh, and it's just a matter of luck. I was lucky; it was fine with me, but you never know. Um,
Okay. And then
uh,
finally, I would say, what are maybe some value adds, cost savings, or some best practices that, if you had to choose one, what would you want to
mhm.
share with my students?
um, the cost savings, you really, I mean, you're defined by the ticket of the train ticket, right? So whatever it is, you got to pay up. you know but you can, of course, book the cheaper, the third class ticket, which is also fine.
But just be
You
aware
get
of
a berth.
the.
Just be aware of the negative, about that. Like, you're out in the open. You have to be careful with your luggage. You have to, like any uh, place you're traveling to, right? uh, uh, and if you can go with some people that you trust, if you can go with some friends or family or whatever, ideal. And they also allow you to book a four berth cabin if you're only two of you traveling together, or even one of you going alone. You can
Okay.
actually book all four berths, and that's yours. Now you can lock the door and you're safe inside. uh, uh, Now, I had some interesting experiences with some people on board. One of them was actually like the vendor on the train. He was, taking his cart and going down and asking people what they want to buy.
Okay.
Um, and it's just memories. It's
Go on. What was the story, though? I mean,
Well, so this guy, he didn't speak too much English, and of course, I spoke no Russian.
okay.
Uh, so he's coming by, and he's asking, everyone. He was actually selling a beer on his cart, and
Okay.
all the time. Like, so for 4 straight days, imagine this. Every couple of hours, right? He's walking by with a cart, and he's asking everyone, "Do you want beer?" Uh, and so I don't drink beer. I don't like beer.
Okay.
And so I said, no, no, no. And every single day, every few hours, you want beer? You want beer? You want beer? Drink beer. And I'm like, no, I don't drink beer. No, no beer. So it was just one of those things that,
Do you have anything else on this car, on this trolley, besides beer? I mean, just.
for him, it was only beer.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm sure you're a nice guy, but I'm not buying your beer. I'm so sorry. hate
But
saying
like
it.
it was just like there was a miscommunication. He was trying to serve me. I was like, I don't drink it. I don't. I don't want it.
That's where you get into spasiba, and stuff like that. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Um, well, Ishan, I got to thank you. So spasiba to you on
Mhm.
this wonderful information that you shared with me. So thank you again for that. And again, the site that you used is seat61.com. And then if you use /trans-siberian.htm, that will get you to the page that has all the information on it, correct?
Yes, that's right. And
Okay.
it has all kinds of information about uh, pretty much all train journeys in the world.
Well, Ishana, you've just been a gold mine of information. I had such a fun time. So thank you so much for sharing
Oh,
this with
thank
my
you.
students. It's awesome. Now, for my students that are out there, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to know about in terms of getting back with you, either about the Professor Travel or this specific trip, you can send them directly to me at scott@theprofessortravel.com. If you're watching on YouTube, click that little bell icon above you to be notified about when new videos come out. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate you being part of the family. If you like this video and you'd like to see additional content, click the like button in order to be notified, or to help us actually, I should say, improve our channel. And then if you're listening on the podcast, please, please, please rate us. We really appreciate it. I'll be your best friend, I promise. But until our next time, my name is Scott. I am the Professor Travel, and make every day a travel adventure. Thanks, everybody.
Happy
Take care.
traveling.
Bye-bye now.